Welcome back to VADA Live. I'm your host, Dan Carrigan. Before we dive in, we want to show you something a little different from Detour, the good, the bad, the CVT. It is a dealer-led road trip video series, mixing adventure, humor, and a real test of vehicles dealers sell every day. Check it out.
Across some of the harshest environments in America, 3 car dealers set out to prove that ordinary Nissans could take on an extraordinary journey, and to finally prove that the much talked about CVT transmission had been wrongly accused by forcing it into conditions no engineer in their right mind ever intended.
We're a little crazy.
Every mile was another way to test the transmission, boiling heat from overwork, terrain that strained the pulleys to their limit, and bumps that never stopped shaking it. In short, if there was a wrong way to use a CVT, we found it.
Now we're rolling, boys.
Road trips change because they have to. The car breaks, the road disappears, the plan collapses, and that is when the adventure really begins.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
The best lessons, stories, and outcomes are found on the roads least traveled. They're found in the Tour Detour.
And I am joined by Tim Pohanka, who is Executive Vice President of Pohanka Automotive Group and one of the dealers behind Detour. Tim, welcome to VADA Live. I have a ton of questions to get to. Congrats on an awesome video series.
Well, thank you. It was an amazing opportunity and an adventure altogether.
At a high level, for folks that may be hearing about this for the first time, what is Detour? What was the idea behind the project? What made you actually decide to go and do this?
So Detour kind of started as an opportunity for us as Nissan dealers to really go out and put our money where our mouth is, to sit there and say, hey, we heard that CVTs had a bad rap, whether it's Nissan, Hyundai, Honda, Toyota, anyone that has a CVT in it, that it just didn't have a good reputation. And Nissan's was probably on the harsher edge of that reputation. And, you know, we've experienced these cars and we've sell them and we see them and we don't see as many problems as we're told. So we said, look, let's go out and see what it takes to get one to fail. Like, let's try to get one to fail. And let's do it in a car that we would sell that's used. And so we sat there and said, okay, let's go out and find cars that are over 100,000 miles. Check that box. You know, cars that we can buy for less than, we bought them all for less than 6, but we said we couldn't do anything more than 10 to them. And obviously we, did a few modifications to make this easier. But then we're going to take it down some of the harshest roads we can find and really kind of do it in that tour style of what are you going to do with it? Not just put it on a controlled course where you know which bumps are coming and you know what water's going to be there and it's all controlled. We said, let's go granular. Let's go into nature. Let's go to where people would do it. And so we said, hey, let's do Bonneville because you want to test speed. And then we said, hey, let's do Cathedral Valley because you want to test rock. And we said, let's do this little Sahara because we want to go into sand. And then we said, hey, we did rock. Now let's do hard trail. And we did Moab. And then we said, hey, let's go into the mountains and went up to Telluride. So it really got us a chance to drive these cars in all these different conditions, off-road, on-road, and filming it all. Let's go really, Blair Witch style. And anything that does go wrong, we're going to film it. And let's just see what happens. And it turned out to be one of the most spectacular things to do because I did it with 2 other great dealer friends. And, when you get 3 dealers together, any idea sounds like a good idea. So that's how it kind of all came together.
Super pressing question, Tim, and I know a lot of folks will ask. So Top Gear, any inspiration from them? Are you a fan of the UK series, the US one? Was that part of the genesis of this? I know a lot of folks may be thinking that.
I mean, of course. I mean, if you're gonna go do something, you're gonna do. Success leaves clues, and the beautiful thing about Top Gear, UK, original script, and Grand Tour, those guys were naturals. You wanted them to be your friends. They were like in your house, and it wasn't people they put together and they weren't friends, they were just work colleagues, and that's kind of where we kind of thought we'd do well, because we really are friends, and that camaraderie helped. But yes, without a doubt, if you're going to draw inspiration, you draw inspiration from the very best. We became a little bit more like a Mythbusters meets Grand Tour, because we were trying to prove something could fail and didn't. But yes, you're very correct. Is that any type of ode to those guys is true. They truly were groundbreaking.
What was your most memorable moment, lesson learned from this process?
Oh, I mean, the most memorable moment was just, experiencing all of the different areas out west with friends. I mean, when you looked at, there's a couple great scenes where we're just standing there, just looking over the expanse. Utah is, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful parts of this country. And I don't know if enough people realize just how amazing that is. From a lessons learned, I learned that producing a TV show is a lot harder than running a dealership. You think you had personalities in your store. Wait till you get personalities out on the road.
In this series, 7 parts, if feel free to correct me, Tim. Yeah, from that video production side, and thinking of this within the concept of this is really at its highest level, a nice piece of just series of content. So as far as those lessons learned and lessons for other dealers, they're saying, hey, content, I'm in, this is a really high level thing. Anything you learned along the way or any messages to them, just to knowing that this is a really, really great concept that's getting traction for you?
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to storytelling marketing. When you start to look at our dealerships, we can go out and we can try to emulate some guy doing a TikTok or a Instagram or some crazy, jumping up and down and appearing in another video. That doesn't tell your dealership story. And when you start to look at what's happened on Netflix with Drive to Survive for F1, F1 was virtually bankrupt until they were bought by a media company who told the story of F1. Then you look at football with Hard Knocks. You look at all of these different items, and those things really impact what gets done. And so I think because of that, you start to learn what that story is that a dealership can tell. And that story can be told by your people, that can be told by your process, that can be told by virtually anything that you do. And the stories matter. One thing I talk to a lot of people when they say what their process is. If your process includes giving a 5-day exchange, do you talk about it? If your process includes car washes for everyone that comes in, do you really talk about it? Or do you just assume that that's something people know and it's just an everyday thing? Sometimes we forget that our transactions for us happen every day. But for our consumers, it happens twice a year, once every 5 years. Those stories matter. And I think dealers and dealership team members do have those stories. And so when you can wrap up what it takes to do any story, that's an important part. That would be the takeaway I would tell any of my fellow dealers and anyone involved in dealerships is, what's your story?
Why was it important to maintain that authenticity? Was that a challenge throughout the process?
No, I think that was the easy part. When you look at that, we didn't go out there saying we're going to do an ad for Nissan. We didn't go out there saying we're going to do an ad for Pohanka. We didn't do an ad for Cole. We didn't do an ad for Empire Nissan. We went out there to do a legitimate field test of a vehicle. Yes, we had our dealership jerseys on or whatever, but you're not seeing us sitting there going, "Hey, come to Pohanka and buy a car." That's where the authenticity comes in. If we were to sit there and start trying to sell something, then that would go away. But going out there and being real, I mean, the good, the bad, and the CVT, in a way is part of it. What's the good? What's the bad? And we did have a 3rd star in that CVT. But, authenticity can come across. You don't have to, in this series, it's scripting the unscripted. And, how do you make this work? But that's the same thing that our dealerships do every day. Every day you come to work, it is something different. Yes, there's some similarities, but consumers are different, cars are different. And that's the beauty of our industry. And I think that's, again, we have an authentic story to tell. And you need to find the right partners to do it. So that would be that's where it goes on that.
What has feedback been like so far, including OEM? I think I saw in one of the posts, it was the sizzle reel that Nissan USA commented. What was that like? What has reception been so far, knowing that all 7 episodes are out now?
I mean, I think the reception's been great. When I read the comments that people are leaving, it's great. I mean, the hard part is not everyone really understands it was a 7-part series. They think it was a one-off video, but it's really a 7-part series. But the comments have been amazing. I mean, some of the haters, which is always fun. God love hate messages. But then the positive ones where people are commenting about, we had one that commented about how they would now put Nissan on their list. We had others that talked about how nice it was to see dealers out there doing something different. Yahoo News went out there and had positive comments about it. Heck, even Automotive News had something good to say about it. Those things have been great. The fact the OEM, Nissan, was not an official sponsor of this, so that was not an official Nissan ad. We've had a few people think that it was, but it was not an official ad by Nissan. It was not endorsed. They didn't have any creative control over it. So that wasn't there. But even they've been receptive. To the extent that they can, because it wasn't an OEM official piece.
So if another dealer came to you with perhaps what could be on the surface a wild idea for a project, maybe a video series like this, and knowing that there are a lot of ideas floating around dealerships and trying to get those to get traction or take off or what to prioritize, what advice would you give somebody with that idea, perhaps as a video series, and before they would get started or even pitch it to leadership?
The first thing is you have to decide what your scope is going to be. We invested, this was a heavily invested undertaking. We had 18 cameras. We had drones. We had 2 production vehicles. We had actual production staff. This was not 3 GoPros and us. This was a full production team of 4 videographers, a drone operator. So it wasn't like a Top Gear staff, but it was a properly good amount of people out there. And then you have a lot of editing. We did over 150 hours of content that we shrank down into 7 15-minute segments. So there's a lot that's on the cutting room floor. So there's that. So you have to decide scope. And then you have to find the right partner. I think too many dealers think that they can handle social media internally, and or they have another partner that does social media, which is their version is to do static ads. So they don't have a true partner. If you're not going to invest in your internal person to do it, because we're very rarely are we going to hire a videographer, an editor, a color, color, all that. We just have somebody with a camera. So you have to decide your scope. And if you want to do a bigger series, then you have to have a bigger partner. But then once you do it, be yourself, be organic, enjoy it. You can script it, but then it doesn't come out that way. We're doing a series right now, which is basically a day in the life of. So we've now taken some of our lessons, brought it in-house, and we're following a technician through his day. Actually 2 days, but we follow the technician, and we're going to start doing that with other people. And, it's good to let consumers know, hey, when you bring a car in and it has a check engine light on, that's one way to diagnose it. But invariably, we're going to get the thump, thump, thump. It's making that thump, thump, thump noise. How does a technician find that thump, 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 thump? So that part's been exciting to me. And then the staff telling their stories is exciting. One of the other lessons that I learned is that the morale in the store really boosted, helping me get my car ready. So, I have technicians that are excited about accessorizing cars now. Technicians never like accessorizing cars, but now they want to do these things. I mean, the parts department was excited about helping me find these parts for my car. They wanted to talk about what we did. It just gets everyone re-engaged in a common goal, which is amazing. So, and by the way, I could not have done it had it not been for a great team back in Fredericksburg. And one of the things, we actually had to call the store because we had a problem to try to see what we needed to do. So they were really helpful the whole way. So that's the other part that's great. But going back to your original question, decide your scope, and don't be afraid to have it go a little bit larger than you think. I mean, good storytelling is always good storytelling.
From the storytelling end, was there a strategic guidance in the background? So I guess within that mandate of, okay, we're telling a good story, there's authenticity, we're capturing the moment. This is almost borderline of journalistic. Here's what we're going through. How do you get the strategic side in it? Because it's amazing and great that this was something that helped with staff engagement, or it really helped get Pohanka out there. So where's that line between we need to tell a great story, but also we have a scope and some strategic objectives we want to accomplish in investing time and finances into something like this?
I mean, well, it starts with a good production Bible. And, you sit down and you come up with your goals. And for anyone who watches our first day video was the only scripted day. So we knew what we were going to do. We went out there with our key objectives. This is what we were going to do in Bonneville. This is how we're going to do it. And I say scripted. I mean, it's scripted from our timeline. After that, everything else we just let happen organically. But we knew what we were doing. So we knew that when we went into Cathedral Valley, we knew we were going to go over rocks. We knew we were going to go through a river. But keeping some of that authenticity was important. So I knew we were going through a river because I laid the course out. I knew how deep the river was. The guys did not know how deep the river was, so their reactions are real. So I think that's part of it. In that you have to have a key idea. I knew we were going to go through a river. That was important. How we got through that river, that was unscripted. So I think that's kind of what you do is you've got to, I kind of think of it like going to California. So if I told you I need you to go to California, I don't care how you get there. You may decide you're going to take a plane. Somebody else may say they're going to take a train. Someone else may say they're going to drive. I didn't tell you what cities you had to stop in. But we know what the distance is going to be. So how you get there, that's the goal. We're always going to keep going west. How we get there, what are the individual stops? That could be different.
Tim, any large projects on the horizon after this? You mentioned some staff engagement, which is amazing. Can't wait to see those. Anything else? Are you on the brainstorming session? Yeah, something on the horizon.
Well, obviously, we've got our Day in the Life of series kind of coming out, but we have we're close to a really, really, really big announcement. And I mean, for us, this would be an announcement that is ridiculously unplanned, something we didn't see coming. So we have that announcement potentially in the next few days. But we are in the process of building Tour Detour 2. So we definitely have that in, it's in development. But we could have a very unique partner joining us, and that would be huge. So
I will leave it at that, Tim. Appreciate you joining VADA Live. You've been hearing from Tim Pohanka, who is Executive Vice President of Pohanka Automotive Group, and we're learning more about Tour Detour, the good, the bad, the CVT, which is a 7-part series mixing adventure, humor, and the real test of vehicles dealers sell every single day. We enjoyed the series. Thank you again, Tim. We look forward to hearing more about some video work that you and the team are undertaking. And we thank you for watching VADA Live. I am your host, Dan Carrigan. We will see you next time.